Hi guys, this is another Donald Trump possible assassination video, and I just want to quickly take you through the things that I've found. So I was watching JK Bogat's latest video, as I often am, and I noticed something. He was talking about this letter P here in the eye, and I left in the comment section that I think it may be a P, and it could also be an upside down D, so it could stand for Donald Trump, considering that this skeleton is dressed with, the top hat and the cape and a diamond ring. It's like a aristocratic figure, a rich man, but this guy's a skeleton, dead. So when I was thinking about that, I was looking at the top of his head here, and at the top of his head, you might be able to see it a little bit clearer in the original resolution, but I've got it in this resolution for a reason. There's circular patterns on the top of his head here, on the right-hand side towards the back, and that's consistent with other images that have been shown in this video of a possible shot to the back of the head, possibly being Donald Trump. So while I was looking at that, I noticed here in shadow, again in shadow, it's always in shadow, that there is an F here, if you can see it. So just there in the shadow is an F, just sitting there in the middle of this circular pattern, which is on the top of this, on the back of this guy's head, which suggests to me some sort of bullet shot to the back of the head in terms of an assassination. And while I was thinking about that, I noticed that the skeleton's nose, if you ignore the fact that it makes a Y upside down, if you draw the line from the skeleton's nose to the eyebrow and all the way down, and then across through the line that kind of makes up this the P and the pupil of the eye at the same time, you go straight down, you've got another F there, a big one, right on the skeleton's face, just down and across. Hope you can see that. Not only that, but with noticing the F over here in the shadow and the F that makes up the nose and the eyebrow and goes straight through the eye, I also noticed that this eyebrow could actually be an incision. For example, if someone was to get shot in the head, they'd make an incision in around about the hairline to get access to the brain. And that could be what it's depicting here. That's just interpretation, analysis, but I feel quite strong about it because when I compare that to the scene that I talked about before, with the face on this structure here that looks like it's got a head wound. If we remember, coming into this scene, it's 3 aeroplanes that come in, and one shoots at a missile, and that could be a representation of a bullet, as well as a missile hitting a mosque. So it just comes in, boom. That's on the right side again, just like it was in the shot I just showed you. This one here, on the right-hand side. So when we go on to the next scene I pointed out before, again, you've got this kind of cracked head, this eggshell, which could relate to Easter, and I believe it does have references to Easter as well, this video has too many layers. Every time you look at it, you find another layer. If you just focus on the hairline, you can see that this is a representation of Donald Trump. It's the way they draw it in like caricature kind of imagery. And even the lips down here, if you think about like, what's his name, on the Saturday Night Live, he even does that, the lips like that, over-exaggerated. So I think that is definitely a depiction, or outline of Donald Trump there. And then when I was thinking about the head wound and getting shot in the back of the head and stuff like that, I was obviously thinking about the scene that I first discovered before all of the others, with this imagery hidden in the background where there appears to be a gun behind this figure's head. And in this particular scene, this is where the George Bush character, which could also represent Donald Trump with the D on the dunce cap, is kind of like going blank, and it's like he's been shot, basically. The whole demeanor, he leans forward, his eyes roll up in the back of his head. So that kind of gives you that kind of imagery there. He even goes duh like that. So it's kind of suggesting that there's some kind of injury that's taken place. Then I was looking at this scene here, and I was thinking about how JK was saying it had the word Jose on there, and he was spinning around, and I agree with that interpretation. It does depict the hurricanes in this iPet Goat 2 video, the 3 hurricanes that came around last year. But I started to look at some more, and I can see that there's also another name encoded in the back of this head here, and it is the J. The O now turns into a U. So if you just follow that round, U. Oh, sorry, 1 second. Let's try that again. So yeah, try not to click it this time. So you've got the J here, which seems to intersect with this upside down Y. They've always got upside down Y for some reason. And then you've got the U, which comes round. It's also an O, as it swirls around like that, but the darker part of the inside actually makes a U. And you've got the S, which remains the same, the E, which remains the same, and you've got another S here on the end. You can see it just there. J-U-S-E-S. Juses. Obviously, you rearrange the E, you rearrange the U, and you've got Jesus. And the NY in the back of the head still maintains reference because Trump Tower is in New York. And there's obviously a lot of references to towers in this particular video as well. And that is kind of on Fifth Avenue, where Donald Trump said that he could pull out a gun and shoot someone and he would get away with it. And I'm thinking that kind of language may come back to, come back to haunt him in sort of way. So obviously, New York is still relevant because that's where Trump Tower is. And if this character represents Donald Trump as well as George Bush, then we've got Jesus on the back of his head. Now, I'm not suggesting that Donald Trump is Jesus, not at all. And I'm not suggesting that Donald Trump is going to get shot by Jesus. But there is another way of pronouncing that name.
Jesus.
That is the Spanish version of Jesus. You see with the little accent on top of the U. Now, why this is relevant to me is because I was watching CNN yesterday and I saw this interview with Don Lemon.
He joins me now along with his lawyer, Garrett Wilkes. Thank you so much for joining us. How you doing?
We're doing good.
I'm good.
Thanks.
So, Jesus, at first I want to ask you about the news tonight that the ICE has.
So first of all, did you catch his name? This guy's name is Jesus, yeah? Exactly as it seems to be on the back of George Bush's head in the iPet Goat 2 video. And remember, considering we believe we're now in the timeline of this creepy video, keep listening.
Has granted you a stay here in the U.S. as well as 1-year work permit. How are you feeling about this tonight?
I feel happy. And
Now look at this. I'm not going to play this entire video. I'm pretty much just going to stop here. But this guy, Jesus, he starts talking, and this guy over here is supposed to be his solicitor, his lawyer. Look at the way he looks at him. This guy, to me, doesn't look like he's a lawyer. I think it's part of something else. And considering this interview is also taking place in a church, as you can see in the background here, this guy, Jesus, is claiming asylum in the church. And this was before he was granted a 1-year stay to stay in this country. I think that there's a possibility that this guy or someone else with the same name, if the Donald Trump interpretation is correct, it will be done by someone named Jesus, if that's what it says on the back of George Bush's head. I'm just going to play a little bit more.
I feel happy because
Now, I don't know if you caught that. We're just going to go back a very quick moment.
As well as 1-year work permit. How are you feeling about this tonight?
Watch this guy's eyes, yeah?
I feel happy, and I feel happy because
Now, just there, just before he started smiling, he looked over at this guy, and then when he turned back, he looked over here behind the camera somewhere, and then he looked dead at the camera and started smiling. Now, obviously, I don't know if that's a correct interpretation, but it stood out to me because obviously, if what is on the back of his head is Jose in terms of the hurricane, and also the letters that could make up the word Jesus, which is Jesus in Spanish, and then last night you've got Jesus on the news being granted a temporary stay, and this guy who's supposed to be his lawyer but looks more like a handler or something like that getting involved. Then it started making me think about DACA and all the talk that's been in the news about DACA and, you know, their fight, shutting down the government and all those kind of things, which also is kind of like a code as well, shutting down the government for DACA, or the DACA being involved in that particular problem. So when I was looking at DACA itself, I was looking at the images that they've got here, and I noticed that they've got butterflies. Not only in one image, which you can see over here, Defend DACA, which probably has its own coded numerology attached to it. You've got another image over here where they've got a butterfly over here. And then I started thinking about the iPet Goat video as well, and how there's a butterfly in there. So I typed in DACA butterfly, and they've got the first link is how the butterfly symbolizes immigrants. And as I was reading and scrolling down, I see this image which has been beamed onto the side of this building. Migration is beautiful, but it contains 2 white butterflies. And when we look at the iPet Goat video, we've got this white butterfly that comes along at the same time as there's a burning heart, which could refer to Valentine's Day again, in terms of something happening then. I don't know, but it's a interpretation. And the butterfly is extinguished. Now, the theory that I'm going with here is that an immigrant, possibly this guy, Jesus, or someone else, shoots Donald Trump in the back of the head because of the situations that are going on with DACA, and that blows up because obviously that would probably create a civil war in the country. When this is going to happen, I really don't know, but I'm definitely putting watch dates down for tomorrow. At the moment, it's Tuesday the 13th at 11:11 on February the 2018. Or in February 2018. So there's basically 49 minutes to go until February the 14th starts, and from there I'll be watching quite intently all the places that we've referred to in terms of London, the UK in general, Hawaii, Japan, North Korea, China, South Korea, Russia, Iran, Jerusalem, Israel, Bethlehem, Syria, the United States, and everything in between. So basically everything. But yeah, that's what I wanted to point out to you. How many references there appear to be in the iPet Goat video to Donald Trump being assassinated, from the skeleton, which appears to have this injury on the top of his head with this F in the middle of it, and the F that makes up the nose and the eyebrow also looking like it could be an incision, something that happens during surgery, and the other references being this structure, which appears to have a face with this head injury again, and the head injury that appears to be on this boy with the outline making the shape of Donald Trump, and the head injury that appears to be taking place here when he goes blank, and there appears to be a gun behind this man's head, behind Donald Trump or George Bush's head, being held by this man here, which I can't make out what nationality it is. So I think there's 4 references there, and the other reference that I put in on the video here, with the Jose also having the word Jesus in there, and that could be Jesus, which has come up in the news recently in terms of immigration, and DACA itself, the numbers for that word being 4131 or backwards 1314, which could have many interpretations, one of them being 1314. I'll probably look into that a little bit more. And then the butterfly reference to DACA and the butterfly reference that we have in the iPad Go video, where it goes up in flames, and could be that immigration is about to go up in flames because of something that happens to Donald Trump caused by an immigrant. And that's it. So you guys have a good morning, good afternoon, good evening. God bless.